And welcome. We're going to start the live video now. Welcome. You know, there's always glitches. There's always glitches in everything. This is Mark Idelman, speech-language pathologist, and welcome to Facebook Live. And if you don't already know it, life is going to throw you a bunch of curveballs. And it just does that. It just has a funny way of doing that for some reason. This is Mark Idelman, speech-language pathologist, and I'm welcoming you here tonight to Facebook Live and to our friends on Facebook Live who've been with us, through September and October. And here we are into November already, and there's Danielle and Donna, and Joe Bourne is on the call, and Natasha is here. Wow, it's great seeing everybody. So let's just first start out with the conclusion that life throws us curveballs. I mean, it throws me curveballs all the time, and I know that many of you, life has thrown you a curveball with your aphasia or with just a number of things in your life. But you know something? Hey Connie, when we get that curveball, we just have to figure out what to do and to stay on top. We need to stay on top and just move forward and do the best we can with what we've got. So, you know, this evening, like 20 minutes before my talk, I had my notes on the computer and my notes disappeared. And I went, holy camole, I've been working on my notes all day long. And guess what? It just disappeared. So, you know, these things just happen to us. And so what we have to do always is we have to smile, we have to keep our composure, and we just have to move forward with what we're doing. So tonight we're on Facebook Live. My name is Mark Idelman, speech-language pathologist. And I've been a speech pathologist for 46 years and have been working in rehabilitation hospitals, some of the best in the country. And I've even worked with many of you who are on the call. And we've gotten your speech to a very, very good level. And what speech therapy for aphasia is about, and I want to make sure that everybody clearly understands this, it's a long-term commitment. It's like marriage. But unfortunately, sometimes in marriage, people don't stay in a long-term commitment. But for all of us who have aphasia or have difficulty talking, the improvement of talking takes a considerable amount of time, and you have to be willing to take the road less traveled. And you're going to say, oh, Mark, come on, give me a break. What do you mean, take the road less traveled? Well, what I mean by taking the road less traveled, it's the one that nobody else takes. It's the one where you commit to working on your speech maybe 1, 2, 3 hours a day. Now, not many people want to do that, okay? But that's what working with aphasia takes. It takes a massive commitment. And you say, well, how much commitment, Mark? Well, in the past, you know, we've talked about maybe even 10,000 hours. How long would it take to get your speech better? Some people say 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, maybe even 10 years. So the road less traveled is making a commitment to working on your speech, to working with your speech with someone who knows what they're doing, and that's the reason why we train caregivers, because we know that you're not going to last in a rehab hospital or a clinic or whatever. Hey, Sherade, and that it's going to be a long process. So you've got to find somebody who's going to be helping you with the process of speaking. And that's why I've spent the last 5 years, 6 years even, writing a book, creating a video course and working with people one-on-one to help them speak again. So let's just really quickly review what you've learned in the Facebook Live course, because there are probably going to be some people in here who may be in here for the very first time, but many of you have been with us every time that we've been on, and that's wonderful. Well, you're here to learn about speaking difficulties. And one of the major speaking difficulties that I've been speaking about during our Facebook Live has been aphasia. And aphasia is a terrible problem. It affects your language, your ability to talk. It affects your ability to understand. It affects your ability to write. It affects your ability to read. And it quite often sometimes is like what happened to me right before the Facebook Live tonight. All my notes, all the things that I wanted to share just disappeared. And that's kind of like what happens with aphasia. And so what do you have to do? Well, I had to make notes for about 5 or 10 minutes with the key points of what I wanted to speak about. And that's what we do with people with aphasia. We help them reorganize their life. We help them learn how to speak again and how to access the brain so you can speak in single words or phrases or sentences. Hey, Ellen. Hey, Debbie Lohart. Good to see you. And so you've learned about aphasia. And you've learned that we have a special way that we help people with aphasia. You know, there must be, hundreds of ways to help people with aphasia. One of them is the teaching of talking method, which involves embedding the answer to your question that you pose to someone with aphasia, and you put the answer right inside the question. And then you ask the person with aphasia a question, and they get the answer. They get it either in a single word, a phrase, or a sentence. And it's a terrific method that you can sit and talk with a person with aphasia for a half hour, an hour and a half, 2 hours about anything that you want to talk about. And what's especially good is if you can speak with their caregiver and train them and have them a part of the process. It's very exciting. We have great conversations. Today we had conversations with some of our friends, because I do therapy like most of the day on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And we talked about Thanksgiving, and we talked about what everybody was having. They were having turkey and Thanksgiving, and they were going to their mother-in-law's house, and they were going to have turkey and mashed potatoes and potato salad and all these wonderful things that is wonderful to talk about, because Thanksgiving is a wonderful time. It's a wonderful time when we all get together. So we teach people how to speak again, not with word lists, not with having them repeat words, but with having them talk to us about things that are important to them, like the holidays, like Thanksgiving, like Christmas coming up, like Christmas vacations that are coming on, what they're going to have for dinner, all kinds of interesting things. Now, we've also, during this course, which, we've had lots of different classes. We even had classes in Apraxia. And you remember that Apraxia is a motor speech problem, and it's difficulty formulating words. So sometimes you can ask a person with aphasia to repeat something, and you can say dog, or say cat, or say goodbye, and they have trouble saying that. It's because the motor speech, the motor inside of their mouth, has difficulty articulating. And we had a whole unit on evaluating speech, learning about articulation, learning about mirroring. which the ability to mimic someone as they speak, moving your mouth at the same time as the person with aphasia. So you learned about John and you learned about Joan, and we did demonstrations, and you learned about swallowing problems, and you learned about voice difficulties, and you learned about the different kinds of therapies, like cognitive therapies. And I told you about cognitive therapies. They're the therapies that give you the workbooks and the iPads, and they have you fill in the blank, and they have you connect words to sentences and phrases and things like that. That's cognitive therapy. That's not going to improve speech that much at all. And the going thought in the field for years was you had to give a person with aphasia cognitive therapy before speech therapy. You know, you had to teach them about how to write a check again, or you had to teach them about how to read again or how to write again. And what happened was that a lot of speech therapists ended up being like teachers, and they weren't addressing speech. They were addressing reading, writing, and arithmetic. So what I helped to share with you was that working with aphasia is very much like working with a child when you're teaching them how to speak. You first have to start out with syllables. Then you have to go to words. Then you have to go to word pairs, then phrases and sentences. You don't teach a baby, an infant, or a child how to read or write before they can speak. You have to teach them the language first. And that's what I believe so strongly in when we're working with people with aphasia, that we have to get them talking first. Give them their language back. Teach them their language back. And once they start being able to use language, then you can teach them the other things that they will need along the way that are good for cognition. But first, you have to help them get their language back. So, our approach and what we're doing is what we call an oral approach. That means we want to work on an individual's expressive speech. That's what we work on first. Now, there are those that who may not respond well to speech and language stimulation. Okay, there are some, although they're in the minority. Okay, so our first goal, and I hope your first goal with working with anyone you're working with, will be to work on their speech first. And if, however, you find that you're not succeeding, then to go to an alternative approach like a talking machine or a AAC device. So we want to teach you how to help those with aphasia speak again. And those with aphasia who want to speak again must have a coach. They must have a mentor. And an iPad is just not a mentor. I mean, it's good if you have nothing else, but you need another person who has learned how to stimulate speech and language. And that's what I've been sharing with you during the last few months with the Teaching of Talking method. Now, what you also learned during the last few months is, and I'm just reviewing these very quickly before we move forward, as we worked on immersion. If you remember the immersion approach, which is where a person goes into an environment and is required to use the language of the environment. So the people in the environment have to be able to know what to do to stimulate the person with aphasia to speak, and require that in that environment, speech is necessary and the person who is at home learns to stimulate speech so that when they're at home, when they want something, they're stimulated to say it. And that's the only way you're going to get speech back with people who have aphasia, is to stimulate them. Hey, Gerald, good to see you, to speak. And so that's what the immersion method is about. You know, a lot of caregivers have not had training in what to do with their loved ones. So what happens is that they go and they'll just accept anything. They'll accept pointing, they'll accept grunting, they'll accept temper tantrums, they'll accept whatever it is, and then give that person what it is they need. They have to do that because they don't know what to do. They don't know how to stimulate speech and language. And that's what we do with the teaching of talking approach. Okay, so what I'm going to ask everybody on the call to do now, all right, is I have a question for you. And I want everybody to answer it so that I can see it here, all right? Now, my first question is what do you want? All right, you're here on the call, okay? Many of you have challenges with speaking. Our first question that I want to pose to you, hey, Sandra, is what do you want? What is it that you want? And I want everybody, if they can, okay, to type in an answer to my question right now. What do you want? Sandra Taylor says she wants to be in the video, okay? And we're going to get to Sandra in just a few moments. But I want to ask some of you others, what do you want about your speaking? All right, I'm asking you a question. What do you want? And I would like you to answer it if you can. All right? And if you can type it out, fine. If you can't, that's all right. All right. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to share with you what I've learned about you. Okay? I'm waiting for you all to tell me what it is you want. And Danielle says speech. Yes. Anybody else like to answer that? What do you want? Danielle says speech. And speech is, and Sandra says, I want to be a normal person. Okay, good. Now we're getting the flow going. Okay, now can I ask another question? Same one. What is it that you want? One says, Danielle says speech. Sandra, I want to be a normal person. Well, you know what happens with strokes and aphasia? We all know a stroke and aphasia occurs, and we know that we just have to deal with it as best we can. Everybody wants to know the question, will I be normal? Can I be normal? Okay, and the answer to that, no one knows. Everybody says it's my new normal, okay? But what you have to do in order to have normal speaking is you've got to have a lot of hours that are devoted to speaking. Now, I'm not meaning that you have to sit down with somebody and speak with them for hours and hours like a traditional speech therapy. No, that's not what I mean. What I mean is that you want to be interacting with someone all through the day. And that someone who's interacting with you must be able to know how to stimulate your speech to help you speak in more words and help you speak with more clarity. There's no shortcut. You have to have a coach. That's number one. You just have to have a coach. And number two is you have to spend a lot of time in conversation. It's a must. It's a requirement. Okay, so those are the first two things that we're going to cover. Now, what do I know about you? What do I know about you from being with you through the last number of months? I know that you're a person who has either a speaking difficulty or you're a person who wants to learn how to help a person with a speaking difficulty. I know that you're successful because you're doing your best to educate yourself. And you're trying to find ways to help other people talk. And you're passionate. You're passionate about growth and learning. You're passionate about wanting to speak better. And you're passionate about helping a person who wants to speak better. This is what you need to know. What you need to know is that chances are that you can greatly improve your talking or the talking of your loved one if you can work with someone like me. You're getting to learn right now an in-depth process of how to tell what your loved one needs regarding how to help them speak better. Now, I want to just share with you, just for a couple of minutes, some things that people have been saying about learning the teaching of talking. Because, I've spent a lot of time educating you. And now that we're approaching Thanksgiving, and it's towards the end of the month, this is going to be our last visit for the month. And I'm not sure when we're going to start up again. Okay? So tonight I want to give you an opportunity. I want to give you an opportunity either to work with me personally, or work in a small group, or to start independently studying the teaching of talking. Now, I'd like to share with you a letter that I received today, and it's from a person by the name of Myles. And this is what he wrote. He said, "Our daughter had a stroke and was in a coma for 2 months. And when she woke up, she was like an infant. She couldn't talk. She couldn't walk. She couldn't eat. She couldn't control her much of anything in terms of her bodily functions." Hi, Renee, and hey, Tammy. And he said, after a few years of traditional speech therapy, Myles said, we hit a wall. He said, but a local aphasia website had an ad for the Teaching of Talking book. And he bought it. And he looked at it. And he saw that it was radically simple. Simple. And Sherade said that she was in a coma for 28 days. Hey, Raymond. So, he contacted me and he asked me to do sessions with his daughter. And I've been working with them ever since. He said that Mark has been teaching her to slow her speech way down. And he said, Mark has been teaching us how to communicate better with her, and that it's been of incredible help. He said she can now speak more clearly, and though it may take her a little time to get her thoughts from here to here, she can now communicate and communicates with them. And this is what he finally said in his note. He said, Mark saved our lives. Myles found out about our work, and he asked if I would work with his daughter. And after evaluating her, we started seeing her twice a week, and I've been working with them about 2 years. Now, I want to give you another note from another person who said, Mark, I want to tell you about some of the things that we've learned by working with you and learning the teaching of talking method. She said, number one, it gives us structure. It gives us a framework or a recipe for working on speech and language. It gives us a whole method. She said, the teaching of talking for us is a roadmap. She said, the teaching of talking is a conversation, back and forth. She said, it's practical. It's the language that you use at home when you're living on a daily basis. She said, the teaching of talking for us, it's personal, and we customize the language that we work on and the speech that we work on to our lives. She said, you can do this method in your slippers or in your pajamas. And she says that you don't need to get in the car to go to the speech therapy office. And she says it encourages positive reinforcement from the care partner to the person with aphasia. So they're interacting again. One of the things about aphasia for many people who are married is that when the person loses their ability to speak, sometimes the ability to interact with one's spouse becomes greatly diminished. But when you learn the teaching of talking, whether you're a mother or a spouse, it encourages you to talk with your loved one and to give them positive reinforcement, because you're going to learn a way to stimulate their speech that they will learn to talk, and you will learn exactly what to do, how many words to use, and how complex you should use your language to help them. You'll learn all of that. And she said it works from where the person with aphasia is. That means that it'll work from wherever they are in their speaking, whether they've lost their speech completely or they've lost a portion of it. That you start helping them speak from wherever they happen to be in terms of how they're using their speech and language. And she said, the method works. And the client sees that. She says, one of the things that we found out right away is that it works. That from the first moment that we started working with it, my loved ones started to improve their speaking. And when the loved one with aphasia sees that they can finally say words or word pairs, it's motivating. It makes them confident. It makes them feel good. Both parties realize that improving speech takes work, and that they see improvement almost every time they sit down and interact. Almost every time. And they know that they're going in the right direction. So if you're learning something and you see progress, then you keep doing it because you know that they're succeeding. And she said, forward is forward in terms of improving speaking. And it doesn't really, she said, no matter how long it takes, if you see progress, then you're up for the challenge of speaking. And she said that the caregiver and the loved one spend time connecting. And she said, it's so easy to lose the connection. She said, but this method helps to build moments and build minutes of true loving and closeness. I mean, isn't that what we do when we speak? A lot of times, we express love to one another. We express our closeness with each other. Okay. So, and then there's another person who's right on this call who wrote a little blurb for me today. Hi, John. Hey, Marianne. And she said, hi, Mark. She said, one of the best benefits of learning the teaching talking is being able to stimulate speech for real situations. She said, your methods really teach us how to talk with each other, not simply saying words, not simply repeating words. And she says it's so empowering, both to the caregiver and to the person with aphasia. Now, that person was in a small group that I had. I had a small group of people that I was working with, just like I'm going to be offering you tonight. And she worked in that small group for a year. But she had a challenge. And her challenge was that whenever her husband wanted to say something, he would say, why can't we be friends? That was that's called perseveration. And people with aphasia have perseveration sometimes, where they tend to say the same phrase or the same sentence over and over again for everything. So she said to me, Mark, will you work with us individually? And I said, surely. So we started working individually. And we never even talked about the phrase, why can't we be friends? What we had her doing was we started having her talk about everything with her husband. What he wanted to eat, where they wanted to go, what they were going to do tomorrow, what they were going to do next week. She had him speaking about so many things that they wanted to do and the things that needed to be done, that basically that phrase, why can't we be friends, very rarely comes out anymore. It just comes out not very often at all. And you met, a balanced Cat and Felix, and then we had Deb Johnson, and I'm sure many of you saw Deb Johnson, and she had speech therapy for her husband for like 2 years with people who'd come to the house, and he'd go to a clinic. And then after that, they went to an intensive program. And after 2 or 3 years of therapy, she realized that no one ever took the time to teach her what to do at home for her husband. And so she called me. She found out about our work, and she asked if I would work with them. And you know something? We're on 4 years now working together. And her husband can initiate speech. Her husband speaks. Her husband talks with their sons on the phone. Is it perfect speech? No. But he only had a few words when we first started. And now he's conversing. He told me all about where they're going for Thanksgiving and where they're going on vacation. And now he's speaking wonderfully. And this is what Deb said. She said, Mark, I want to thank you for patting me on the back. So what I do when I work with caregivers is every once in a while, if they've done an extra special job, I'll write them a letter and I'll congratulate them on what they're doing. And she said, you'd never understand what your simple little notes to me, encouraging me, you'll never understand what that really means to me. And she said that one of the other things that she has learned is that kindness and the patience that we have when we all work together are worth more than just about anything. The patience and the kindness. Hey, Gustavo, how are you? So, you know, the next question is for you is, what is it that works with the teaching of talking? Is it the method? Is it the technique? Is it the repetition? Everybody wants to know just what exactly it is. Okay? What success in speech therapy almost always is, it will always be contingent on two people, the therapist and the caregiver, the therapist and the person who's stimulating speech and language at home. You could always go out to the grocery store with a list of ingredients that you need for Thanksgiving. We're all getting ready for Thanksgiving now, right? And you could all go out and you make your list for the potatoes, for the turkey, for the sweet potatoes, for all those things. And you have that list of ingredients and the turkey and everything else, and you go to the store and you buy all of that stuff, and then you bring it home. Is it the ingredients that make the wonderful Thanksgiving meal? No. What is it that makes Thanksgiving? Well, it's the person who's in the kitchen. It's the person who's in the kitchen who takes the recipes and puts all the recipes together, and voila, there's a wonderful meal that comes out of it. And then there's the ambiance of the Thanksgiving dinner. Who sets the table, how it's set, the people who are there. So it's not necessarily the method. It's not the teaching of talking method. Although it's a part of it. It's like the turkey. You can't have Thanksgiving without the turkey. But you can have the recipe and you can have the food, but it's the teacher. It's like my wife who taught her daughter how to make apple pie at Thanksgiving. Every Thanksgiving, they would make an apple pie and a pumpkin pie. Well, what is it? It's the mentor. It's the mom teaching the daughter how to make the turkey, how to make the stuffing, how to make the sweet potatoes with the marshmallows and the pecans and all of that stuff. It's the same thing with the teaching of talking. You can have a method that's a great method, and it may be in a book, and it may be in a video program, but that's not the answer to how to help a person speak again. It's part of the answer. The person at home needs to learn the recipe and needs to get good at it. And I can help you do that. In fact, I've been doing that for 46 years. Would you believe that? Okay, so the spectacular experience of a Thanksgiving is due to the person, the bread pudding and the brandy and the pine nut and the pine nut cookies and the coquito. Hey, Brian, Yeah, it's all those wonderful, wonderful things. But all of those things had to be made by somebody. And that's the point I want to make with you tonight. Okay? I'm not going to be seeing you all for a while. All right? And you've been with me now for almost 2 months now, and I've been sharing with you the teaching of talking and all about aphasia and all about these other things. But now you have to decide what it is that you want, okay? And you have to make a commitment to either having a spouse get our video program or the book, or asking me to work with you. I only have 2 openings. I only have 2 openings for people who might want to work with me. And you can work with me for as long as you want, but you'll see results if you've got potential, if you're stimulable. Okay, so what do the people like Deb Johnson, what do the people like Joan and John, who you met, and the other people that I work with, I want to just share with you just for a second some of the things that they have in common. They wanted something different from traditional speech therapy. They didn't want flashcards. They didn't want workbooks. They wanted something different that made sense. And when they learned that you can learn to stimulate speech and language at home all through the day in whatever you're doing, they said, that sounds like a pretty good idea. I think I want to do that. Because it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. Now, here's the other thing you got to know. That you got to be willing to do the work. You got to be willing to learn. You got to be willing to fail. Then you got to be willing to succeed. And that's what it takes when you learn anything. Okay? You got to do the work, you got to learn, you got to fail, and you got to succeed. Now, here's the other thing I want to just reiterate, because this is a review, and then we're going to open up the floor, I promise you. Okay? Now, I also reviewed with you, I think last week or the week before, that you may have to do 10,000 hours. Hey, Chris, you may have to do 10,000 hours of stimulation of speech to really get better. You know, there was a guy who wrote a book, and he said to be an expert in almost anything that you have to put in at least 10,000 hours. I've put in 10,000 hours. Deb Johnson has been putting in 10,000 hours in the last 4 years, stimulating her husband to speak 2 hours or more a day. But remember, it's not sitting down at a table. It's not taking out the workbooks. It's not flashcards. It's none of that stuff, okay? It's interacting. It's asking a question, putting the answer inside the question, and then stimulating that answer. And when you're doing that every day in the same situation, and the person with aphasia is improving every time you ask them a question, and then they start speaking automatically. Then they reach a point called generative speech. Generative speech is, first, you have to get them to imitate you. First, you have to feed them the words so that they can say the words. Do you want a cherry Coke? Say cherry Coke. Do you want a glass of milk? Say milk. Do you want to go out? Say out. So that's the single word level. Then you go to 2 words. Okay, do you want to go out? Then they say, yes, go out. Do you want to go shopping? Yes, go shopping. So what you have to do is you ask them those questions ad nauseum. You ask them those questions all day long. But it's in a normal conversation. It's not sitting down at a table. It's not iPad. It's not flashcards. It's not a workbook that's this thick full of papers that never addresses speaking with one another. Okay. So what do we know about the people who succeed? And this is really what it takes, so I need to share this with you. You want something better than the traditional method, which often doesn't even work. Number 2, you're willing to do the work. You're willing to learn. You're willing to fail. You're willing to succeed. You're willing to be on a call with me when you don't feel like it, when you haven't slept well the night before, and you have a phone call with me on live video. And you're going, gosh, I don't want to work with him today, but you get your butt out of bed, and you're on the call, and in 5 minutes you're happy, and the person you're working with who has aphasia is happy, because guess what? You're stimulating them to speak, and they're speaking. And they love the process. A lot of people who go to speech therapy don't like it. They don't like it because it doesn't apply to them. I told you the story about the speech therapist who was working with this guy, and she says, "This is a hairbrush, say hairbrush." But the guy got really upset, and his wife told me he didn't have any hair. Why is she working on hairbrush? And then she worked with him on toothbrush, and she tried to get him to say toothbrush over and over again. And this is the old way of doing the same old traditional speech therapy. And guess what? The guy had no teeth. And the wife said the therapist was working with him and he had no teeth, and she was working on toothbrush. And then she had him talking about football, and the guy hated sports. So it's about the words and the language that are special to the person with aphasia. The person who helps the person with aphasia and the person with aphasia, they're passionate. They're passionate. They want to improve. They want to succeed. They enjoy the passionate interaction of speech and language because it's fun, and they're succeeding. The reason why it works is because we make it easy. We teach you where to start so that there will not be upsets. Upsets and frustration only occur with speech therapy when the task is too hard, when it's too difficult. When you give a person with aphasia a task to do, or you want them to say something and they can't say it, they'll be upset with you. And I would be upset with you. But you're going to learn exactly the kind of words to use, how many words to use, so that person can repeat them. And then when you know how many words that you can stimulate, then you're stimulating that all day long. You're having a conversation all day long. And you can have your cocktail at 5 o'clock, maybe like you used to. And you can be having your cocktail and talking about your day. You can talk about what you did, what you're going to do tomorrow. There's so many wonderful things to talk about with a spouse when you learn how to help them start speaking again. And it's relatively simple. That's what Myles said when working with his daughter who was in a coma. He said, we realized how simple it is, and then we figured we wanted to work with you. Okay. Hey, Sherry. Hey, Gordon. Okay, now, the other thing that a person has to have, if you're going to help a person with aphasia, or if you have aphasia, if you don't have anybody to work with you, then you better find out how you can work with me, because I'll help you. You've got to figure out how to work with me, and if you're interested, you can send me an email at talkwithmark1@gmail.com, and I'll work with you. All right, now, what else about the person who works with a person with aphasia? They have to have a strong work ethic. That means that they stay at whatever they're committed to. You know, even when you don't feel like it sometimes, you do. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you know that your spouse or the person you're working with just ain't in the schmood, so to speak, if you know what I mean. And so you got to pick your times. There are going to be times when that person just doesn't want to talk with you. But most of the time they will want to speak to you. They will want to speak to you because you make it easy for them to talk. And that's what they all want. You know, the ones who don't want to talk are the ones that are tired of lousy speech therapy, where they're taught how to say hairbrush and they don't have any hair. They're the ones that say, gosh, going to speech therapy is a real pain in the neck. I don't want to do it. It's boring. And she doesn't know me. And she doesn't know anything about me. And she doesn't even ask me about who I am. Okay? So the person who knows the individual with aphasia best is the spouse or a loved one or a son or a daughter or someone who's willing to make the commitment. Now, something else you got to be able to know if you want to help a person with aphasia. That means you value not accepting the status quo. You know how it is going to therapy and you're really not getting results, but you keep going anyway? And you just hope that one of these days your loved one is going to get better. But sometimes the speech therapy, it's just not working. People who decide, and I want you to decide tonight, because I'm going to offer you an opportunity that's not going to come around very much more, okay? There are people who just don't want to accept the status quo. They value a support team. They value improvement. They want to see results. They want to be involved in every step of the process. But you could say to me, well, Mark, I don't have anybody like that. I don't have anybody who wants to be involved. I don't know anybody who doesn't want to accept the status quo. But if you, person with aphasia, if you have no one to work with you and you want expert help that will get you moving and we'll figure out how to help you, then I want you tonight to send me an email at talkwithmark1, and that's TALK with Mark, MARK1 @gmail.com. Okay? Because you got to have a coach. And even caregivers, you need a coach. Because you know what Deb said to me? Deb said to me, why I keep working with you. And it's been 4 years. She said, there are a couple of reasons why I keep working with you. Number one is that my husband keeps getting better. That's number one. She said, number two is that you help keep me focused. You help keep me on task. Now, you know that it's very easy to get off task. How many times have we tried to lose weight, or we went to the gym, or we decided to do an exercise program and we were good for, a couple of days? What I also serve as with the people I work with, and I only have 2 openings now, I'm just telling you that, is that I can tell each and every time when we work together if you've been helping your loved one speak. And you almost always are. Because I teach you very simple ways that don't require work. It does not require work. All it requires is asking your loved one questions and embedding the questions in the question. Oh, there's more to it than that. But that's where it starts, okay? So, lastly, so here's your opportunity to act. But before that, I want to share with you one other thing that a person said, but maybe I'll just let that go. I want to open up the floor now, and I'll stay as long as you want, okay? Usually this class is just an hour, okay? But I'm going to stay as long as you want. But I'm going to take maybe 2 or 3 questions, and then I want to share with you 1 or 2 other things real quick, okay? So I have this person first. Let's see if they're there. It's Sandra Taylor. And so Sandra Taylor is going to come on the call. And we're glad, Sandra, that you're with us. And we hope that you'll be able to interact with us, that you'll be able to share with us.
Uh-oh.
That's okay. I see you need more light. Looks like
I
you're
got
in the dark.
every light on.
Well, that's okay. We hear you.
Huh?
We hear you, and we can see you. So tell me, Sandra, what's happening with you?
I'm listening to you.
You're listening to me. Oh, is that good? And how is your speech?
Yeah. I'm doing all right today. Tomorrow is another day. You know?
That's how it is, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. One day I've talked just fine. And then that other day, you know? Yeah.
So tell me, do you live by yourself or do you live with someone?
Me and my puppy dog.
So it's just you and your puppy dog. Okay. Do you go out or do you get speech therapy anywhere?
No.
No?
I do it. No, I do it on my own.
Okay. And are you happy with the results you're getting?
No.
Okay. So remember the expression, and I just want to leave you with this, okay? Because it's really good. There was a guy by the name of Robert Frost. Did you ever hear of him?
Robert Frost. No.
All right. Well,
I can't see you.
Well, it doesn't matter. We can hear each other, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay. So Robert Frost, he wrote a poem, and he said that there were 2 roads. He was out in the woods, and there were 2 roads, okay? And he took a choice. He said, should I take the road that's heavily traveled or should I take the road that is less traveled? Okay. And what I want to just
Okay.
share with you is that there's still help for your speech. If you decide that you want additional help, wherever you might choose to go, there's still ways that you can improve your talking. But if you're generally happy with the way it is, that's okay too. It's all up to you and what you want. Is there
I
any?
want to be what?
Tell me, what is it that you want?
I'd want to be normal again. I, I used to be a dispatcher,
Uh-huh.
and I talk fast.
Yeah.
Um, I used to talk to people on the phone,
Uh-huh.
and now I've you know it's it's um oh what's the
Is
I
it
say it,
is it frustrating?
you know oh yes, very frustrating, and
Okay.
finally I just want to hang up the phone.
Okay.
I don't want to talk to anybody.
Okay. Is that how you want to live the rest of your life, not talking to anybody?
No,
No. Okay.
no,
Then you have to do
no.
something. Okay. You have to do something.
Okay, okay,
So what we're offering is we're offering one-on-one help, or we're offering one-on-one and small groups of people who we work with together on their speech. But if you don't want what you have now, you must go down a different road.
okay,
Okay?
okay,
And if you want to reach out to me on Facebook, I'm going to have my email address. And you send me an email and I can call you and we can talk about it.
uh, well, what, um, uh, um, well,
Sandra, I'll find
yeah,
you, okay?
okay,
I'll find you because I know you're on Facebook, okay? All
yes.
right. We'll see you soon, okay? We'll talk soon again.
Okay,
All right.
bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Okay, very good. All right. So that's what's let's see. Linda Loopy is on the call and Brian. Keep trying, Sandra. You know, sometimes speech therapy is kind of like a lawyer. Um, there are just certain limitations that you have if you're the only one who is working on your speech. Quite often, you don't have the ability to step away from yourself and see what's happening. Uh, I would always recommend to anyone who wants to improve their speaking that they find someone to help them, someone who knows what they're doing. Okay, so let's see if there's somebody else real quick, and then I want to wrap it up soon. I don't want to be here too long. Let's see if there's anybody else who'd like to be on the call. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to wait for your request, okay? There's a green button, and if you want to be on the call, I'll speak to you and I'll answer your questions, all right? Saw you on Facebook and started practicing with mom. Great, okay? That's the best thing in the world you can do. And if you know how to practice and you know what to do, then you'll get results, Brian. There's no question about that. Okay, so what do I want you to do now, the group that's here? Well, I'm going to share with you what I want you to do, okay? I want you to take action, all right? We only go around once. I want you to take action. I've spent the last 2 months teaching these classes because I wanted to teach you that it's possible, that it's possible to improve your speaking. That's number one. Number two, the reason why I've been on this call is because I wanted to show you that there are lots of people out there who are working with their speech and who are getting better. All right? Because they have motivated caregivers and they've reached out for help, either with myself or they want me to teach their caregiver, or they've bought the book, or they've done the independent study course. Okay? So thanks, Aaron. Thanks for sharing the show. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to take action today, and I want you to start implementing this opportunity that I'm going to offer you to help your loved one speak better by either obtaining the video course and free book, or to take the small group training, or to contact me regarding one-on-one training. The next time, if you can do that, and if you do that today, contact me because I'm ready to help you. I've wanted to educate you. I've wanted you to meet me. I've wanted you to see who I am and what I can share with you. And I've got the passion and the experience to show you what to do. And the reason why all of you are here is because you want something. And it's the people who want to improve. It's the care partners also. If you want to help your loved one, it's you. Okay? And if you have that desire, if you have that motivation, then I'm going to offer you an opportunity to take the course independently if that's what you want, or to work in a small group, or to work with me one-on-one, so that the next time you help your loved one speak, guess what? You're going to know what to do. That it will be impossible for you not to use the teaching of talking tools. You are the teaching of talking. Everybody who is in this call right now, you are the teaching of talking. And once you start to use these tools, your loved one or your clients are going to start getting results. And you'll be a walking billboard for the teaching of talking. All right? That's what's going to happen. And you want a relationship. You want a relationship that will inspire you to think bigger, to think better, to think out of the box, and to be held accountable. It's about getting the results that you want. Because guess what? I want them as much as you do. Now, I don't know why I'm 69 years old and I still want to be doing this. I just don't know why I want to do that. I think it's because it's my purpose. It's my life. It's my purpose. And you know something? I hope that each and every one of you on this call have that same purpose. That your purpose is that you're tired of being where you are with your speech. You're tired of not really having a clear-cut method that will help you. You're tired of not having someone who's as dedicated and as motivated as you are to speak better. So you want a relationship that will inspire you to think bigger, because that's what we want, okay? And if you can say to me, Mark, I want to learn this stuff, and I don't care how long it takes, then it might take me a year, it might take me 2 years, it may take me 3 years, it may take me 5 years, because we know that the brains in people who have aphasia are not the same as ours, and they may need more time. All right? So you have to know that, one of the things Joan used to say to me, when is my husband going to start speaking automatically? And I said, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Just keep stimulating single words, phrases, and sentences. And she's been doing that. And guess what? Speech is coming. Generative speech is coming. Automatic speech is coming. So this is the climax, the crescendo of our work with the teaching of talking up to this point. I want to offer you an opportunity to get on the bandwagon. Now, if you want to work with me individually, if you want to get the program and do an independent study, or if you want to work in a small group, you know how to contact me. Talk with Mark1. That's a number 1 at gmail.com. Contact me and I'll make the arrangements to help you. And here's the thing. Why do people hesitate? Why do people hesitate? You know why people hesitate? Because they fear something. And some people may fear, well, I don't know if this is going to work for me. Are there some people like that out there? I hope not. But there are people like that who say, well, I'd like to work with you, but how do I know it's going to work? How do you know when you get in the car that you're going to get to the location where you're going? You don't know. You don't know what's going to happen between your house and the place where you're going. You just have to set the idea. You wake up, you get dressed, you're going, well, I have to go here today. So you get dressed, you get your purse, you get your clothes on, you get in the car, you start it up, and off you go. You're not thinking, am I going to get in an accident? You're not thinking about any of those things. You're thinking about where you want to go. You're thinking about what you're going to do. And I can assure you that if you decide to learn the teaching of talking, okay, that I will do everything that I humanly can to help you. Now, if you want to get the independent study course, you study that, okay? That I'm not going to help you with. That's a program that you can work on yourself. However, if you're the type of person who needs help, who wants somebody to help them be accountable, someone who will motivate them, someone who will encourage them, someone who will teach them very simple, easy methods that will help your loved one or help you speak better, okay, then you want to be in the small group training or in the one-on-one mentoring with me. And I only have 2 openings. And usually people who work with me, they don't stop working with me. They keep working with me for some reason. That's what Deb said. She said, I work with you because you keep me on track and you keep me learning. You've taught me so much about speaking and what I need to do to help my husband. And her husband is talking now. Is it perfect? No. Can he speak and have a conversation? Yes. But she's constantly speaking with him, and she's constantly expanding his utterances, making more words. Okay, so the only reason why people may hesitate to work with me is because you're afraid, okay? You're afraid that it may not work. But if you get the independent study course, you'll have 30 days to use it. And if you don't like it, just send me an email and I'll send your money back. Okay? You know who I am by now. Okay? I'll help you. And that's what I want to do. I want you to be able to communicate better so that your life will be better. Number two, I want to help you speak better so that your life will be happier and that you'll be more confident. That your life will be more exciting because you're speaking better. I want to help you speak better so that you can have better relationships where you can speak and interact with the people that you love. I want you to learn this so that your self-esteem and your self-respect will increase. Your feelings about yourself will be better because you're not stuck, because you can't talk. I want you to learn and speak better so that whatever your life purpose is, that you will achieve your potential, that you'll make your contribution to others. And I want to conclude with another note that was sent to me today. This was sent to me by Belinda Cribbs, and many of you know her. This is what she wrote. She said, Mark, out of all the therapists my husband has worked with, my husband has done the best with you. The second thing she said was, my husband has aphasia. At first it was so severe that he didn't recognize me. He couldn't say a single word. He couldn't suck on a straw or blow through his lips. He didn't understand anything except my crying and that things weren't right. He couldn't even roll over in bed. He couldn't sit up. He had no ability to read. He had no ability to write. He had no ability to recognize numbers or letters. And when we met Mark, Ronnie could say a few words, but he couldn't carry on a conversation. Mark made it his business to find out what Ronnie enjoyed talking to Mark about. And they talked about pickup trucks. And they talked about old cars. And they talked about motorcycles, as well as family and daily events. Mark would draw the conversation out of Ronnie. And he taught me how to do the same. Ronnie got to the point where on trips, I would encourage him to tell me a story. I told him to pretend he was Mark Twain and spin a tall tale. The people at church began to see Ronnie walking and talking with a new confidence, and they commented on it. He still has aphasia, but he can converse now. So much more. I've learned a lot from Mark about stimulating speech. Working with him has been a godsend. And my love to help people speak has been a godsend. So I'm offering you tonight an ability and an opportunity to work with me. If you go to our website at teachingoftalking.com, you will see at the bottom of the page a button if you want to take the independent study course. To the right of that is another button that you can click on, and that will tell you how you can work with me for some individual visits and then group training with a few other people. And then, if you want to work with me personally and would like me to mentor you, whether you have a care partner or not, send me a note at talkwithmark1@gmail.com. And that's about all I have to share with you tonight. It's Thanksgiving at the end of the week. Then the month is going to be over. Then it's going to be Christmas. And it's a wonderful opportunity to give your loved one a Christmas gift. What better Christmas gift could there be than giving a person with aphasia or speaking difficulty an opportunity to work with me, or to pursue an independent study course, or the small group training that I'm going to have with a number of people. So I'm going to be busy doing that. So I'm not going to be doing a Facebook Live for a while. And so I want to share, and I want to thank you all for being with me during the last couple of months. You've been a dedicated group of folks, and you've been on the call, just like, every week you've been on the call. People like Aaron and Raymond and all those people, and I just want to send you all my love. And please take this opportunity. This opportunity is like a train. It's coming down the track, and if you want to get on, you want to hail that train so that the train will come by and pick you up and help take you to the destination. This is Mark Idelman, speech language pathologist. Please share this video with some of the pages that you visit, some of the friends you know. Please share it. People with aphasia are just starving for information about aphasia. You can find the videos that we've been doing on Moshe Mark Idelman under the videos, and you can also find our videos on YouTube under Teaching of Talking. So on that, I send you all my love. Be well. I hope to see you on the other side. Bye-bye now.